Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. This is Chad Hill, and I also have Adam Stetzer on the phone.
Hey, folks. Good afternoon.
And today we wanted to walk everyone through how to do a demo with the new dashboard. So we successfully made it through our launch last Monday and spent the better part of the week walking you through the new dashboard. And believe we had a few, we are ready to go, and we announced the launch to all of the customers on Friday. So today I want to walk you through the how to do a demo. I'm going to actually walk through this demo as if I were on the phone with the prospect. So if the voice here is a little bit more walking through a little bit more of a presentation. That's how it's intended. And what we'll do is that we will pause between each tab if there are any questions that come up, and then we'll go back into sort of more of the demo voice. So the first place that we always like to take people is our home tab and talk about what we have, what data we show clients on the home tab. We always start off with visitors, and so we're pulling information in from Google Analytics, and we're showing you how many visitors you've had over time, and we actually break those down into organic visits and non-organic visits, and then also show a line for total visits. And then we also are showing here the source of those visits. So you can see that about, in this case, 75% of the visits come from organic sources, and then we have some direct and some from referral sites. Also in the graph, it's kind of nice to take a minute and show a little bit about some of our new bells and whistles. So if, for example, we wanted to zoom in and get a better sense of how the non-organic visits have changed, and maybe that's because there's been some press releases going out or some other places that we're looking for more referral traffic, we can take a couple of the axes off, or a couple of the data series off the chart and have it rescale. So I click here, and you can see that now we get a better sense of how the referral traffic has worked over time. And again, this is our typical account that we use to demo VetHubs, and we attended an event in January, so you can see that the number of non-organic visits, primarily referrals from some social media sites, spiked up a bit in January when we were at that event. Now, scrolling down the screen, you'll see some other summaries of the other types of campaigns that we are running on this particular account. So this account does have an SEO campaign running, and we're showing the growth in non-branded organic traffic. So let's talk about non-branded organic traffic. This is a really good measure for understanding how much category traffic is, how many category keywords are driving traffic to the website. So if you think about a typical website and a typical company, some people know the name of the company, and so they're going to Google, and even though they might be able to go directly and type in the URL, people are conditioned to go to a search engine and just type in the name of the company and then click on the organic link that comes up. So what we want to do is we want to actually filter out that traffic, because an SEO campaign is really all about improving a website's position in the category search terms. So instead of instead of actually searching for VetHubs might have veterinary marketing services, and so we want to really be able to filter out how many people are coming to the website because they're searching on VetHubs versus some of those category search terms. So this does this, and this shows a nice trend over time that over the past, well, in this case, a year here, we're seeing a nice steady growth in traffic over that time, non-branded organic traffic. You can click through to get to more details in the SEO campaign, but we'll hold off on that for 1 second and finish up the home tab, and then go take a look at some of the detailed areas under the other tabs. So the social screen, the social tab here is just giving you a quick glimpse of where you're seeing mentions for where your business is being mentioned, or where the target website is being mentioned on various social media outlets. In this case, the majority of them are happening on Twitter, and a few coming in on StumbleUpon, and even a few coming in from the Google blog mentions. This gives you just a sense of where are you being mentioned, and you can again drill through on the see details to get more data. We also have sales lead tracking set up on this campaign. We have this is really a test on the site, So we had some leads coming in February and some in March, and then we've had a couple trickle in here in June. So that's just giving you again a trend line here that shows where the leads have, how many leads have come in over time. If you had phone call data, you would also see the phone calls listed here. They would be in red, and that line would, and then the green line would sum up both the sales and phone calls. And again, you can click through, see details to see more information. The final thing on this particular campaign is then we now see an archive of all of the monthly reports that have been sent out over the past, well, really since this campaign started in the end of 2009. So at any time when you want to go back and look at a report for a certain month, you can click and download a PDF, and it's going to pull together all the information that is here in the dashboard at that particular time. So you get a snapshot of the campaign's performance at each of these points in time. Now, on this, for this particular account, these are the services they have turned on. If they had paid search or email marketing campaign running, you would also see summary modules for those.
And Chad, do you want to talk a little bit about the architecture of our dashboard and how those modules might slide around? So I do know there have been a couple customer service calls about why is this showing now and why is this sometimes on the left and on the right?
Sure. Yeah, we basically look at. Do you want to talk about that, Adam, or do you want me to mention?
Go ahead. Just cue it up and then.
Yeah. Okay. Great. We look at each campaign. So most of you are familiar with our hierarchy. There's you, the reseller, and then you have accounts underneath you, which tend to be your customers, and then your customers have campaigns. So that's our hierarchy. We have a reseller, we have an account, and we have campaigns underneath that. Typically, accounts map to a domain name. So if your client had 2 domain names, they may have 2 campaigns. Typically, most people have an account and a campaign. On each campaign, there are, and then by the way, the drop down or the search box here is helping you locate the campaign you want to view. For each campaign, though, you can have multiple services. So you can have an SEO service plan, a paid search service plan, email service plan, and social media. So all of those are available services. What we do is we look at a combination of actually 2 things. We look at those services that you're enrolled in. So again, primarily that's paid search, SEO, and some of the email, but mostly those 2. And then we also look at some of the included services that you might be using. So everyone's allowed to use social media as part of their access to the reporting software. They also are allowed to begin setting up email campaigns. So we look at, and the same thing goes with sales leads. We look at both what your paid services are plus which other reporting features you're using, and then we use that information to decide what to show in the dashboard. So as Adam said, we almost in all cases, I should qualify that, if this data is coming from Google Analytics, so if you haven't set up Google Analytics, you actually wouldn't even see the total visits by month. So that's actually one other component. So it's paid service plans, what reporting features you're using, and then whether or not you've configured Google Analytics. So based on those 3 criteria, we essentially draw the home tab and fill it in. And so as a result, if you were using sales but not email, or you had email but not sales, we shuffle these modules around to basically account for which services you're using.
Yeah, that's well put, Chad. And this was a complicated screen to build because our stated objective was to make it as beautiful as possible and really pack a punch. But as Chad just outlined, and you can imagine, understanding the products that may or may not be active, the decision tree that went into what can we show, what data sources do we have, and what services are they actually running is fairly complex. So we spent a lot of time testing this across a lot of different use cases with a lot of different mixes of products. But if you're coming across one that you don't think meets the stated objective of looking beautiful and really packing a punch in terms of delivering the right information, we certainly want to hear about it. Chad, we've got a rambunctious group here today, which is great. A couple questions are flowing in. Are you ready to take a few?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, and if you're new to our webinar series, which I see some of the names on the list are, there's a section on the side where you can pop a question into your chat window, and I'll feed them up here. The first question that comes in is, I don't see reports for my customers on their home pages. Is this an admin link that I need to turn on to show the report list like you have in the lower right in your example?
Yeah, let's look at that for a second. So if you go over to admin, there are a couple settings around reports. So the first one is to whether or not to generate a monthly report, and this needs to be turned on. And then the second part is, well, that's the main thing. So you want to make sure your monthly report tag is turned on. The other one is the next report date, which actually typically is something you do also control here under advanced. Sorry. It's actually on the account level. So go back up to the account level, and under that you can update your next account date or next report date. Actually, Adam, I might need a little help. I'm having trouble finding that.
I actually thought that was at the campaign level, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, let me go look real quick. Sorry about that.
While you're looking for that, I think the other place people will probably hit a little bit of a snag here is that the first report is, by design, planned to come out after the first full month of service, and that's a calendar month. So I know I do hear a lot of support calls coming in saying this account has been running for a month and 7 days. How come there's no report yet? And the answer for that is that it's the first full month. So if you started mid-month and the first month was prorated, you may actually wait a month and a half until you see that report. So the answer to this person's question, maybe it just may not have been long enough. And if it has been over 2 months and there's no report listed on your home panel, you should give your account manager a call and have them look into it.
Yeah, and actually I have an answer. The other part of that is that we can specify when your report goes out. It's on a screen that that we have access to. So if you have a problem and you'd like to change when your reports go out in terms of what time of the month, you can get in touch with your account manager and they can update your next report send date. In most cases, they are set to run on the first of the month, but you do have the ability to modify that if you'd like.
That's an excellent point. We actually got a lot of reseller feedback in 2010 that having a rigid report published date of the first of the month wasn't working for some people, and I believe that feature came out sometime in the first quarter of this year. But it is something you need to ask your account manager for, and they can do it for you in 5 minutes. Chad, the next question here is back on the home screen. The question was about the very first graph you introduced at the top, the big one, and the question is this: on the pie chart, is that a fairly typical distribution of traffic sources that you're showing in this pie chart?
Well, it's not. It depends, really. This is a website that we use primarily for demo purposes, and for the most part, we've been running an SEO campaign on it. So this particular campaign probably gets more than most from organic traffic. I think your normal small business that's doing other advertising and has been in business for a number of years and has some awareness, may have a sign in front of their business, may have trucks roaming around the street, they're going to have a higher percentage of people who are typing in, coming in from a direct traffic sources. We also do not have any paid search running on this particular campaign. So you would also, if you were doing any other advertising, online advertising, you'd expect to see a higher percentage of that traffic. So there's really no one answer on that, but it's probably a little unusual, especially for a service type local business, to have 75% of their traffic coming in from organic only.
Cool. Jen, I got one more for you, and these are great questions, folks, so keep them coming. This last one relates to the social panel that you're showing there, and you're probably going to get into this more later as you move through the demo, but the question is, we have a client with a fairly generic business name, and therefore it keeps showing up in social mentions that are really not that relevant. Do you have any advice for us on how we could set the social monitoring so that this part of the tool could have more value for the client?
Yeah, the best thing to do there, and we have run into that, especially again with that sort of local, there's lots of names of companies that are sort of city names that are pretty common with a category, a business category that's also pretty common. So in those cases, what we've been doing is using their domain name. So if typically they have a unique domain name. So if the business is mentioned on a page that also then has a domain name, a link or something references the business, we'll put that in. So that's going to eliminate, it's going to get you a lot lower, a lot fewer sort of false positives, if you will. And then the other thing we'll do is we can include in that query, if you put a comma, so if you did domain.com or domain.net, whatever it is, and then comma, or actually space, and then the Twitter handle, so like at whatever their Twitter handle is if they're using it, that's going to get you the Twitter traffic, and it's going to get you any mention of the business that includes the domain name, and that's going to probably give you a pretty low, a pretty accurate hit rate on social mentions. So that's what we've been doing when we run into that problem.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so we'll head on to the SEO tab. And again, I'm going to go back to my demo voice here and talk a little bit about what I'm talking about with a potential client. So on the SEO tab, we're diving further into the actual SEO campaign that we're running for you. And again, one of the main things that we're doing is we want to show that over time we're increasing the amount of non-branded organic visits to your website. And that's just the best metric that we've been able to understand and find for tracking the performance, at least from a traffic and keyword standpoint, of how well the SEO is working. So what we're showing here is, again, over time, pulling data from Google Analytics, the number of non-branded organic visits and as well as branded. Again, in this particular case, this website, this service is not branded for the most part. Most of the traffic it gets is from category search phrases, and you can see that growth over time. The other thing we're showing is we're showing you backlinks. Backlinks are the number of links to the website from other websites across the internet. And this is where, again, stepping away from the demo for a second, really we get into talking about then what is our recipe for SEO. And so we always talk about how 70% of the on-site optimization is 30% of getting good rankings. And we always say it's necessary but not sufficient. You can optimize a website to death with all on-site tactics, content, and metadata, but if you don't have links, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get the rankings that you really are looking for. The other part of the equation are the links. And so this page is all about showing our process for how we go about building links to your website. So the first thing we want to show is actually the tracking of those links over time. So you can see that the links have slowly grown. Now, in this particular example, we're using the Yahoo. We do use the Yahoo API, and they changed the way they measured links back at this time frame. So, but if you take that out of the picture here, you can see that we've slowly been increasing those links month after month, and that's going to help. That helps drive the rankings for this particular site, which then in turn improves the traffic. So in addition to the graph and showing you where the non-branded organic traffic, we also have this pie chart that again is saying kind of pull out the part that we're talking about. So of your total traffic, this graph dives into the organic portion of your traffic, and so in this case about 75% of the traffic. We also pull a couple of metrics in from third-party data sources. MozRank is actually created by SEO Moz, a well-known data provider and tool provider in the SEO space. They have gone through, they crawl the web and try to reverse engineer the way Google uses what it crawls to determine rankings and authority of websites. So they have something called a MozRank, which is their estimate of page rank. And so in this case, this website has a 5.6, and it's usually measured out of 10, so it's a 5.6 out of 10 for the home page of this website. The overall domain authority is 38. So what this is telling you is that the homepage on this website is probably the most authoritative part of the website, and that's usually the case with most websites, that the homepage has more links and usually ranks on some of the more competitive keywords. We also are pulling in backlinks from two sources, one from Linkscape, which is again a part of SEO Moz, a product of SEO Moz, as well as Yahoo. So we're showing that this website has 3,000 links that have been built up over time. Going on down the page, the next thing we're showing are your top rankings of target keywords. So we have three kinds of keywords that we track in our system. One are target keywords, and those are the ones that we're actively trying to build links and get to move up in the rankings. We also have keywords of interest, and those are keywords that you maybe don't want to currently be working on in terms of moving up, because you need to have some focus on your primary terms, but you want to keep track of them. Maybe they're ones that you've already improved your rank on and you just want to keep an eye on them, so you leave them as keywords of interest. And then we have suggested keywords, which are pulled in from Google Analytics, where they're bringing you traffic, and we check the rankings because we're looking for places that there might be an opportunity to improve your rankings even more. So that's what we're showing here, and we rank them by your top ranking to your lowest ranking for target keywords that are with your best rankings. Any of these you can click on and take a look at the rankings, or a drill down into the rankings. So you can see that this keyword we started ranking way up in nowhere land back when we started working on this at the beginning of last year, and we slowly, although the scale here makes it a little hard to tell, we slowly have moved the ranking down to the point now we're in position 2 or 1, depending on the day. Looks like mostly 1, a couple 2s, and but between 2 and 1. And this is one of our target terms for this particular service. So that's the ranking side here. The other thing we're doing is we're actually separate from where you rank. We're saying what's bringing you the most traffic. So you can see over here on the right that vet websites, we know we rank in position 1. It's also our top organic term. This is where we're getting the bulk of our traffic. So you can see vet websites 35, and you can also click here to get a drill down on that we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 to a few more visits a day on that particular term, and on down the list. Now, similar to the Home tab, if you want to look at the full list of either one of these, you can click See Details. And that's moved us from the analytics screen down to keywords. And now you're in one of our tables where you can show a whole lot of data at this point. And right now we're only showing you target keywords, but if you wanted to look at your keywords of interest, you can filter on those. So here's a couple that aren't currently in our target list, but we've been tracking them just to see what our ranking is, and here's where you see that. So just to go across the data here to tell you what we have the keyword, we have the type of keyword, so this is a keyword of interest. Monthly searches, we're pulling this data back from the Google AdWords API, and this gives you an idea of, hey, how important or big is this keyword? Are there lots and lots of searches every month? So you can see this of these terms that are on this page, that vet website out of the 5 that are listed has the most monthly searches. We also pull back from analytics your exact number of visitors you've had on a certain term that in the last 30 days. So this is exact matches, and then we show you where you started what you were ranked when we started tracking it, and what your rank is now, and then we also have the trend line. Now the drop-down icon here allows you to move keywords from the interest category to either remove it or to move this from an interest keyword to a target keyword. So you can just simply select Make Target, and that's going to move it up, and it's going to become part of the link rotation. Okay, so we'll go back to the SEO tab, and now we want to talk for a minute, dive into on the other side here, we'll move into the details on top traffic.
And Jen, we do have a couple questions coming in, so let me know if you want them now or you want to wait till we're towards the end of the screen here.
Yeah, let me go through this screen, then we'll hit some questions. So this screen really is just the full list. We were showing, I think, the top 10 or so on that previous page. this list is showing you all the keywords in the last 30 days where you've gotten visits from organic traffic sources. Okay, so this is not going to, if you're running paid search or something else, we're focused down on what are the organic keywords, what's driving organic traffic. So that's what this is. I'm just going to sort on this. So you can see last 30 days we've had 35 visitors from vet websites, 22 from veterinary websites, 18 from veterinarian websites, and on down the list. Okay, and we can also get a wider view of traffic by going back even further. And so this is pulling data back really for over a year at this point. You can see the trend on what kind of visitors we've had from that keyword. Adam, I'll take a question or two. What are the questions?
Cool. All right, this one probably applies back on this SEO analytics as well as the SEO keywords sub-tab of this module. This person asked, I don't have any suggested or competitor keywords in my report. Where do those come from, or how do I get those in there? Right.
So the suggested keywords, and Adam's going to have to help me on the percentage, but what we do is we look at all the traffic we get from Google Analytics each day, and I believe that if any keyword is more than, I think it's 1 or 2%, Adam, is that right?
I think I have to look as well. I'm sorry, because we've played with this percentage. I know we've played with 1, 5, and 10, but honestly, I know we beta tested. I don't recall where we left it, so we'll have to publish that on the blog.
Yeah. So it's we look for any keyword that is accounting for more than, let's just call it a percentage of traffic. I think it's somewhere around 1%. It's pretty low. And then if we find any of those keywords, we pull them in and make them a suggested keyword. And really what we're doing that for is we want to then check the rank on it. So we will then pull that in and grab the AdWords data to see how many monthly searches there are, and then check your rank. Because a lot of times what our sort of the hypothesis is that if you're getting a couple hits from this keyword and there's significant volume on that keyword, meaning that there's a couple hundred searches a month, we'd like to know what the ranking is, because if you're sitting at number position 15, middle of page 2, that's a great term that you might want to try to move up, and you already are most of the way there. It's never easy to move from page 2 to page 1, but it's definitely easier to move from page 2 to page 1 than it is page 50 to page 1. So that's how we're pulling that. And let me actually just jump down to keywords real quick and look at that here. Now I can tell you that if you're running a lot of paid search traffic, it's a lot of times because of the volume coming out of paid search, the onesie and twosie clicks from an organic keyword sometimes don't get picked up. And we're aware of that, and as Adam said, we've been kind of playing around and tweaking how we can account for websites that have a lot of paid search traffic or traffic from other sources that's not organic. So that is something we're aware of. So let's look at suggested. Okay, so in this case, let's just sort by. Let's sort by 30-day traffic. Okay, so here's a couple. Vet website design, and so according to Google AdWords API, there's 240 searches a month on that, and good example, we're currently ranked 14. Now, what that actually tells you is that when this first picked this keyword up, we were ranked 10, and it looks like we've moved down a little bit. Although, let's see where we are. Yeah, so I mean, you can kind of see the history. When it first picked it up back in January, we were in 10. We moved down a little bit, then we moved up a little bit. So this would be a keyword that we probably should grab and move over to a target keyword. If we wanted to do that, we just click here and we say make target, and now that's been promoted up to a target keyword. So that now would be included in the link building process. That's target keywords. Competitor keywords you set up actually over on the admin tab. And this is something you manually have to do. So what you would do here is you would basically take a keyword that you wanted to track, and you would put in the URL of your competitor, and you would add it to the competitor group. And so you would do this. So let's just say that our competitor was vetwebsites.com, and we wanted to track how well they were ranking on vet websites, veterinary websites, those two keywords, okay? And you can just make a list and comma delimit them. And then you can add them to the competitor group and say update campaign. So now we don't have a ranking on that yet because that's just been added. That will actually go into our SERP tracker to go out and pull back that ranking. But the next time you go over to, after that process happens, the next time you go look at your keyword screen, you would then see your competitor, the competitor ranking, the rankings of the competitors that you've entered there. So if you were trying to track maybe 2 or 3 competitors for those same 2 keywords, you would have actually gone through and added those 2 keywords for different URLs with a competitor category, and then those would all be tracked.
Cool. Thanks very much. The next one here, and you kind of touched on it a bit, Chad, but since someone asked this question, let's try to be explicit. They asked, what is the difference between an interest keyword and a target keyword?
Right. Good question. So a target keyword is going to really, the next place I'm going to go is going to answer that question. But it really, a target keyword are keywords that we're writing article content on and that we are building backlinks to your website on. Right. So these are ones that we're actively working on in terms of building links with anchor text to your website to improve the ranking on those specific terms. So it could be that keywords of interest are either terms that were once target keywords that you now rank well on, and you're like, well, I'm going to retire those from actively trying to improve the ranking on because I'm happy with where it is, and I want to go on to the next on my list. So you retire those to a keyword of interest. Or they could be ones that maybe your flow is I check my suggested keywords and I don't move them directly to target keywords, but I move them to keywords of interest because I want to keep my eye on them, and then at some point you move them up to target. So you have the ability to sort of move your keywords between those buckets of interest and target and sort of maximize or manage how you want to build links and improve rankings. Now, one more point on that, and I have to say this is not paid search where a change you make today shows up immediately. So you don't want to be overcorrecting on this. You don't want to be changing target keywords every day, because what will happen is that you'll end up with none of your rankings getting better because you didn't put enough effort into any one keyword.
Yeah, that's a great point. And slow and steady wins the race here. And actually, that's a good lead into this next question, Chad, which is an interesting one. Let's see if we can decipher it. The question is this: if the 30-day traffic is at 0, yet the rankings have drastically improved on that search term, should target keywords be modified for a client?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, and it's one that Adam and I have been talking about because what I've been running some of my own analysis trying to understand what to do in that scenario. So what I've been doing is actually going and checking phrase match traffic on certain terms, and I don't know if we've really come to the conclusion on this yet, but I don't know if the answer is to change it, because what I've been looking at is, as we get a better ranking on that term, are we also, maybe we're not getting traffic on that specific keyword, but are we getting longer tail searches that include that keyword, that those rankings came from having a better ranking on the head term? I don't know if that was hopefully not too confusing, but basically what we're looking at is should we be changing and looking at a slightly different metric there that maybe takes into account that a lot of traffic to websites is longer tail, that sort of comes along with ranking on a head term. So I don't have an answer on that today, but something we're looking at and been thinking about how to maybe create another metric, sort of like non-branded organic traffic, that can help us explain and show the benefit of ranking on a head term.
Yeah, that's a real doozy. And I mean, I guess, Chad, I like your vision on this. So what you're saying is we hope one day we'll have a feature where we can say, yeah, maybe there's no 30-day traffic on this exact term, but by building links on this term and we're clearly moving the rankings on that term, that's a signal back from Google that we've increased your authority in this category. And with this metric that Chad envisions us building, he's hoping to show there has been traffic on other variations of a term that are very similar that we believe we could take credit for, if I'm representing your vision correctly. I think that's a real cool idea. But I think the other factor here, Chad, is just sort of knowing your client and the level of patience they have and the level of understanding they have, because we meet people who do understand that rankings come first and traffic comes at the end, and as long as rankings are moving, they're happy to keep investing because they know the pot of gold will be achieved. There's certainly a large proportion of the clients who don't understand that and just are looking at traffic and they don't see it. And so you probably have to exercise some judgment there as to what your client's tolerance is going to be and try to massage that a bit. I mean, my first recommendation is always education, but that doesn't always work, as we all know.
Yeah. So we've exposed the traffic. So there's kind of a workaround today where you can, to answer that question using our software, I've started doing following. You can you can basically go to the keyword screen that we just, or the traffic screen that we just showed, and this again is showing all traffic last 30 days. So for a smaller website, 30 days of traffic may not be huge, but you could, if you wanted to know how often is the term vet being used, you can search here, or let's just say veterinary. So we now see that we may have only been targeting veterinary websites, but there's also been some traffic from veterinary website SEO, veterinary website design, and you can kind of go down the list and get a sense of that. So I think we've given you some tools here to help answer those questions. I would look at your target keywords and also use this traffic screen to sort of check what other flavors of what other keywords am I getting around this keyword that might be worth keeping it as a target keyword, or maybe we need to go to the next one and remove that as a target keyword.
Chad, you're really going to love this next question, given your expertise in paid search. It's a long one, but I'll say it slow so we can get it. If a term has lots of searches and the website has a good ranking on that term but no traffic, does that mean you need to revise the title and description of the page that shows up in the search engine? Or is there some other answer for why we're not getting clicks?
Yeah, so you're saying you're pretty sure that the site is coming up in a term that's it is searched often. Now I just want to make sure everyone kind of takes into account which search data you're looking at, because there's broad match, phrase match, and exact match. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. On our keyword screen, we are pulling back broad match data. Okay, so there's their exact match could be lower. So I make sure we get that right. But let's just assume that there is a lot of searches, and that it's an exact match, and your site's coming up in those exact match searches. Yes, there could certainly be something where, and a lot of people talk about the refinement of some people who have really good rankings around their SEO is moving their rankings to interior pages, and then it's treating the title tag and the description almost as if they were ad copy for AdWords, right? So the title tag becomes your ad headline, and your description becomes your ad copy that you would normally have in AdWords. So certainly that could be the case. One thing I've seen is that when I've gone in and tried to tweak people's titles and descriptions, that you can see a little bit of a hit in the rankings. It doesn't last forever. Sometimes it lasts a little longer than you like, and it's not that comfortable to say I made a change to the title tag and now the site's dropping in the rankings. But my experience has been that it's usually temporary, so you can modify it.
Well, that's interesting. So I hear you saying, Chad, boy, this one is a mind bender, but I think you've interpreted the question correctly. There's really two possibilities. One is that Google stats are sort of exaggerating the traffic that there really is to be had here. And so even though you have the ranking, maybe the exact match is a lot lower than the broad. That's a good point. And then secondly, you really can try to tinker with this, but sort of, I think I hear you saying, do so with caution, because you might whack the rankings. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
Well, listen, while we were talking, another one came in that said, guys, this is complicated stuff and very, very interesting, but I'll never remember it all. Is this webinar going to be viewable at a later date for reference?
Yes, it is. We will encode it after the call today, and it should be up on the site by around 11 or so tomorrow, and we'll send out a note, and it'll be posted in our reseller news section of the site. So under resources, reseller news, you'll see all of our previous webinars will be there.
Cool. Well, those are fantastic questions. Really good.
Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of really good questions. So let's talk a minute about going back to target keywords and what we're actually doing in terms of running SEO campaigns. So we do on the 30% side provide an on-site report where we're depending on the size and the level of the campaign. We provide some guidance for the homepage and some tips and tricks, or we go into more depth for more pages, again, depending on which campaign you sign up for. So you need to get that done. But then the bulk of our work is really on writing content and building links and trying to get those inbound anchor links to help you. On the content screen, this is where you can see all the content that we've written for any given campaign. So we've changed this a little bit where now you can actually see veterinarian websites. We've written 30 articles, 15 blogs, and 4 blurbs. And really the order of this is that articles are kind of the longest piece of content we write. Blogs are a little shorter, and blurbs are shorter than that. So this is the kind of content we're writing in all campaigns. You can see all the keywords that we're writing the content on. You also have a link here to the content library to see all of the articles. So you can actually click on any one of them and read the content that's been written. So it's all here for you to review. Then what we do is we take this content and we submit the content to a number of different sites. All of the information on where and how many submissions we're doing is here on the submission screen. So you can see over time all of the submissions we do, and you can see we do anywhere from, it looks like the average is somewhere around 5 or 6 a day, a little higher, a little lower sometimes. And then we have a list of all of the places that we've posted links and gotten links back from. So there are some cases where we will post content that we don't get a confirmation from the website, so those don't go in here. But the ones where we do get a confirmation back, those go right into the submission library here, and you can click on any one of these and go to the website where that content exists. The final part of the SEO screen that I want to talk about is the workflow, and this is where you can see all the tasks that are waiting that are going to be done over the next 30 days or so, as well as everything that's already been done. So by clicking completed, we're going to get a list here of tasks going quite a ways back. You see all the tasks that have been completed. You can expand the list and page through the list however you want. You can also click not started and filter and see all the tasks that in most cases again are going to be coming up over the next 30 days or so. So that's that.
Cool, Jed. I got a couple more questions for you before we leave the module. One is, do you guys have any guidance or input you can give me on estimating traffic increases as I move up page 1? For example, if I take a ranking from position 10 to position 3, what's a reasonable expectation of the percentage of the total searches on that term I would be getting?
That's a good question. I think we have a blog post or two somewhere on that we may need to dig up and send out as a recap. There are some good studies that have been done that do sort of heat maps of where people's eyes and clicks go on pages, and the general result of it is that it's a winner-take-all type of percentage, where the first listing on the first page gets a huge click-through rate. And
I was sitting this morning, Chad, with Matt, one of our account managers, and a client who's local to us in Rochester, and he actually had that heat map out because this client incidentally asked the very same question. So I just happened to have seen this morning, or I never would remember this, but the numbers Matt had were like 56% for position 1, and I think it was like 15% for 2, and then it is a depressing cliff in terms of how those numbers were presented. But I will say I want to go back to your point about sort of the phrase match in SEO, because the more I read and the more we experiment and the more we see our own rankings moving, I really believe that you do pick up a lot of that. So on the one hand, the heat map just tells a very depressing story for anyone who doesn't make it above the fold on page 1, because that's really where the clicks are going. But on the other hand, every site we've pushed and who's gotten to position 8 on a target term, at that point is picking up phrase match long tail traffic that is very relevant and usually converts well, but may not be an exact match target. So there sort of is a flip side to this story, I think.
Yeah.
The other comment that came in here, Chev, was more compliment. Very well organized dashboard, guys. Love everything I'm seeing and all the info. Of course, we always say thank you very much. We've been working months and months and months on this. And the other thing I always say is it's been a collaborative effort with the team that's on the phone here, because a lot of the feedback that we got over the last couple of years through these webinars and our customer support calls, we've tried to weave into here.
Right, and I think anytime you do a sort of a restart, I mean, we obviously had a great, we had a whole bunch of stuff in the old dashboard, and we think we've done a good job of porting it all over and making the enhancements that people have asked for. But I'm sure we made a couple mistakes along the way, and we keep the feedback coming, because we want to keep investing and making this a better and better platform.
And Chad, we have one general navigation question, which is, I see how you're selecting the campaign by searching in the upper right-hand box, but you have to know the name of the campaign. Is there any way that clients could have a drop-down so they wouldn't have to remember their names?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me just log in here as a in client, because we did account for that, and let me just do that real quick. Okay, so what in this case, this is an in client, and they do have a drop down. So they have 2 campaigns that they have access to, and they can pick either one of those campaigns and toggle back and forth between them. So the way we configure that is anyone who has access to the admin tab gets the search box. The assumption is that there are, you have multiple accounts, you're an administrator, you're working with several accounts, and you have the ability to get to it. Now let me show you again, in case even as an administrator you forget who or don't know who to search for. I'll show you that as well. And by the way, that account had 2 campaigns running, but if you had just one campaign, it would have defaulted right into the one campaign, and they wouldn't have to worry about picking between multiple campaigns even.
Cool. So, Jeff, what you're saying is there's nothing that you guys have to do to toggle that feature from a drop-down to a free-form search. That's dependent on your security access, and we specifically designed that so your end clients have an easy way to see their campaigns, and you have a slightly harder time, but that's by design because it's easier to get to the large list we hope you all have as you sell lots of these. And on that point, Joe, we got a really interesting one here. Can you speak to any specific verticals that tend to be harder or easier to get progress in that would help me target who I market my SEM to? That's a fun one.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I have the easy. Yeah, I don't know if I have like a silver bullet list of this is the industry, no one's in there. There obviously is a lot of competition in most verticals, so I don't really have a good advice on that. I mean, feel free to talk to your account manager, and I could give you, if you have some specific examples, they or we could help you look at just how many people are in the market. But I think the best thing to do is to say, let's just say you want to do dental or something, right? So if you did dental SEO or dentist SEO, I would just look at how many people pop up and how, if you put those terms in quotes, how many competitors are there in that space. And that's probably one of the ways I would look at how competitive it might be. Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that I feel the same way. I mean, in general, the more money in any particular vertical, the more competitors it's probably already attracted, and the higher the price you can charge. So it sounds good from the pricing angle because you would think initially, oh, those margins will be higher. However, it means there's more competitors, so your cost for customer acquisition is going to be higher, and it's going to drain away some of that margin. So I'm not sure how that plays out in the end, if any one is better than the other. To me, it comes down to competitive advantage. You need to have a good strategy for sales and marketing, and you need to know how you're going to penetrate and close in that market. You've got this great technology, that's a great start, but you also need access, and you need endorsements, and you need to think about where you're going to be hitting these folks up. If you happen to know where 300 dentists meet once a month, and your buddy can get you on the list to talk about SEM, well, there's a great deciding factor for you right there, or perhaps the chiropractors or something else. So if you have an angle, that's what you want to exploit. If you don't have one, you need to think about how you're going to get one to really beat the competition.
Okay, great. Did we get all those questions out? Do we have any other questions there?
The only quick last one was a comment saying, guys, this is awesome. You have no idea how happy I am that this was not a pre-recorded webinar. Truly appreciate it. And well, yeah, we're here, we're live. It's fun for us too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we have a few minutes left. We've had a lot of great questions, and it's been a good, engaging discussion. We have several tabs here that we haven't even talked about, so we're going to go a little faster now because we may need to circle back and set up another webinar to cover the last bit here. But let's go to email, actually, and let me. Let's actually go to sales, and then we'll come back to email if we have time. So let's go to sales, and okay, so the sales screen is where we actually show you the specific leads that have come and the calls that have come into your website. And the graph here doesn't have a lot of information on it, but basically what we're able to show is the actual specific leads and the phone calls that have come through. You can also set up a lead form that you can put on your website. So this is a basic lead post to this is a web to lead form that it goes right on your website, and the data gets posted into your HubShout portal. So it will go into your reseller portal, and your clients could log in and see their leads. And we've done this really for two reasons. One is because we have our own marketing. Ultimately, we believe that the more trackable all the programs you're running are, the better the retention, and the better you're going to be able to demonstrate that you're doing a good job on a campaign. And we've also done it because we ourselves need to market better, and we also think that you guys might need to market better too. So we have a whole set of programs and thoughts on how can we improve our own marketing and how can we help you guys with some of your marketing. And so that's a big part of one of the big reasons we built the sales tab, and also we built the email tab, is to allow some of that. The other part of the screen is phone tracking. We actually allow you to do two things. One is to set up numbers through a phone tracking service that we built, and then anytime there's a call on that number, in this case, anytime there's a call on this number, it actually will record that phone call and then bring that data into the dashboard, so that you can actually listen to those phone calls, and your client can listen to them and see what kind of leads they're getting. We also have a phone script. What the phone script does is it allows you to keep the default number on your client's website for most traffic, but then when you have traffic coming from Google or from Bing or from a paid search campaign, our script, this little piece of JavaScript, actually is sitting there listening and waiting, and when it finds a condition that it's supposed to change the number, it will change the number so that now we're able to say, hey, your standard phone number is whatever your normal business phone number is, but when we get a visitor to the website coming from one of the sources that we're tracking, whether that be organic traffic or paid traffic, we can swap out the phone number dynamically right in front of that prospect, and then when they call the number, we'll know that that call came from one of the sources, whether it be organic or paid search. Now, a couple things. We've changed the screen around a little bit. So for those of you who are already using it, we used to have kind of one long screen. Now we actually have, it's the rule part is on the first tab. The numbers that are mapped are here. You have the script to grab and place on your website is on the third tab. And then the settings around turning the script on or off are on the fourth tab. So that information, that's all, all the same stuff is here. It's been reconfigured and moved into tabs instead of a long screen. Now I'm going to take a look at the social tab. And on the social tab, we're actually monitoring monitoring the social media mentions that are coming in this case, the term vet hub. So the question earlier was, we have a general name and we're picking up a lot of noise. We know that vet hubs is for the most part really not used anywhere else, so we're comfortable just keeping this pretty general. If you did actually look at that other account that I just had up, I believe on that one we've made it a little bit more specific. Well, we know their name together. We're looking for any time that whole name is mentioned, so we put their name in quotes. So if just Hill comes up or just Ponton comes up, it's not going to match, but it has to be the whole phrase Hill and Ponton. So that's another way to refine your search a little bit.
And Jerry, we have a quick question on the social media tracking stuff. Does the screen you're showing us apply to all accounts, meaning anyone who's got PPC SEO, or is this a special plan you have to buy?
Yeah, we've opened up social media to everyone, so it's part of the reporting package that you get with any of our services. So when we have some people who buy just our reporting packages, but for those people who are actually buying our services, they get full access to all the reporting tools, and that includes the social media option. So we've included what we're pulling and looking for search queries here, vet hubs, or scanning social media here for vet hubs. You can control that by going over to admin. So if you want to modify that, and you go to advanced, you'll see your social monitoring queue is right here, vet hubs. So you can change that, and then it will update the query.
Right, and I think what Jed's saying without saying it is for anything you're paying us to do, you should have that set up. Any client where that's not set up, it's a missed opportunity. It's interesting data. It can sometimes pick up irrelevant things, as we heard mentioned earlier, but if you refine it, it's a useful tool. And if not very much data comes through, the client's like, oh, I don't see very much activity, it's a great opportunity to talk to them about doing social media for them, which you can do yourself in your shop, or you could outsource to us. So we think it's a great conversation piece of possible upsell path.
Exactly. Okay, and the last thing that I'll show here is email. And what we're showing here is basically we're showing campaign email sends over time and the number of people that open the email. So this is a nice graphic that just, again, shows the trend of, okay, well, if our objective for for a campaign was that, look, we want to be leveraging more email, using email more, you can track that, yes, over time you've been sending out more email, and here's the open rate. So that's all available here, and we're tracking that. So we're tracking both sends and opens. You can also look at, our open rate across all of our campaigns is around 72%. We send a lot of informational emails, so that's probably why we have a really high open rate. But then you can also click through and look at different campaigns that are set up. So the way in our system this works is that every campaign brings together a list that you're going to send to and an email template. And so what we're doing here is we're basically saying, is this an autoresponder? Is this a newsletter, one-time newsletter send? And then we can configure when it should go out, what list it should use, and what template it should use, and all of that can be configured right here. So we know this is an area that's on our short list of development priorities to work on, especially our templating tool. But for now, we do have service offerings, and we've had several people recently taking us up on this to help them develop email templates for newsletters or for autoresponders. And we can design them and help you set them up, and then they can again run through the platform here, so that all the data is consolidated back on your monthly report as well as your home tab.
Chad, I know we're just about out of time, but I'd like to squeeze a couple of these questions that your screens here have generated in. The first one is, if I have a client and I'm already doing SEM, but I use you guys for SEO, could I pay for the reporting suite so that I could get the PPC, hook up the social media tracking, and have everything in one place, but still manage the account myself?
Yes, you can. And you can actually even use our task feature. And on the paid search side of things, I'll just show you a client real quick. I'm doing that, Adam. We actually, one of the things we do is all of our paid search analysts add notes to the account throughout the month. So what we do is we're telling the client kind of what we're working on throughout the month by just logging tasks into the system, and that's something that you could also use to so that your reports would be even more automated. So that's also something you can use.
Yeah, and Chad's really got a great vision on this. Pretty much every feature that we think of to build for our team, Chad's always saying to me, Adam, how can we architect this so that it could be self-serve for one of our resellers who wants to do this in-house? Because we really want the software to be very flexible so that it can be outsource the service or do it yourself. So that's a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. The next question, Chad, real quick here is on email. If a client only does a quarterly blast, is it possible to purchase the module for just 1 month, or do I have to get into a long-term agreement?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer right now. I'm sure we can work something out. So just contact your account manager, and we'll come up with a reasonable way of doing that.
Great. And then the last one here, Chad, might be a good one to close our session on, is when we get past the new portal training that we're doing in this series, could we have a call focusing specifically on how to sell social media packages? My perception is that the demand is very high.
Yeah, that's a great one, and we've been trying to sort of mix these up to one sales, one product. I think we have someone has also asked for something on paid search, so we'll get these together and maybe see if we can get a vote out to find out what people are most interested in. But if not the next time, then we'll hit that very soon. Okay, well, if that's it, thank you everyone for your time today. And like I said earlier, we will get this webinar encoded and up on our website by tomorrow. So thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Great questions today too, and have an awesome afternoon. We'll see you.